Okay, Assalamualaikum, Dzikra.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi.
Welcome to our job interview. Oh, for sure. Okay, could you please tell me about yourself?
Alright, first thing first, I will tell you my name. My name is Dzikra Mufida Tovid. I was born in Indonesia, Bekasi, and I'm currently working as a professional web developer, and currently I'm focusing on web designing and front end. So yeah, as you can see in my CV or curriculum vitae, I may not have that big of experience with big companies or maybe those companies that you might see every day, but I can assure you that I do have experience with other people or maybe some clients that I've never met before, and I can assure you again that my quality of products can actually be as good as those big companies. Thank you.
Wow, inshallah. Well, Dzikra, what do you know about our company or our startup, and why do you want to work here?
Well, I've been following your company for a while. I've been seeing your company from something like Instagram, some other social media, and my friend has been talking about it for a while. So I thought that your company was actually a company that is pretty aligned with myself. You know, your company is more aligned to something like photography and those kind of things. And me, myself, I may be a web developer right now, but my background when I was still pretty young, I actually really like doing photography or videography with my camera. And until now, I still really like using my camera a lot, sometimes even for my clients or even myself. That's all.
Okay, that's cool. That's really relate. Okay, Dzikra, could you please give me an example of a project or accomplishment that you are particularly proud of it?
The only one project, not the only one, the most project that I'm really proud of is, of course, my own website, my own portfolio website. You can actually see it, you can try actually opening it with your own web browser, planriff.com or something like that. And then, as you can see, my website, it takes so much time for me to make it. It only took me about 2 months actually to make that website. And it has so many animations. It's just as detailed as possible. It's literally my best work ever. And I use so many things. I used GSAP. I use, of course, the typical HTML, CSS, and JS, and then of course some other frameworks. Just like I said, I use animations with GSAP, and then I use some jQueries, and then even some bootstraps. And then in that website, you can actually see some of my photographs and my photographies and my videos that I made with my own camera and with my own editing. So my job here, my talent here is not actually just web developing, but it's actually creativity for videography and photography.
Oh, sure. That's cool, Dzikra. So how do you handle ambiguity and rapid changes in startup environment?
All right, so just like these days, we have AI, which is updating rapidly every day, and they are getting better every day. So of course, we need to be better than before. We need to catch up with how the modern day updates. So of course, we always have to look at social media sometimes, even though sometimes we use social media as something to make us happier or to know about more information. And of course, I use social media mainly to know about the newest information of the newest, maybe the newest AI something, or maybe the newest update of a software that I use every day. Something like sometimes the Visual Studio Code that I use, the software that I use for programming. Sometimes it does an update that I don't really know, and sometimes I have to go to Discord or maybe to my friends or maybe to social media, and then I would know what just happened. So of course, because of the advancing rapidly, because of the modern era advancing rapidly, of course, we'll have to look at social media, and then sometimes you can even use something like Compass, for example, because it's a news website. So of course, you can get some more news and get some more knowledge that are new from there. That's all.
Exactly. Well, so what technical skills or tools are you proficient in, and how can they benefit for our startup?
Okay, we'll start with HTML, CSS, and JS. You may think that that's a pretty typical thing, typical language that we use to make websites. But the more typical it is, the better it is, in my opinion. Because if it's typical, that means all people can use it. That means when there are some problems that we might get, we can actually ask someone close to us, or maybe we can just search it in Google, or maybe we can have some friends or some other co-workers to work together easily. I mean, as you know, there are some other techniques to use or language to use to make some websites, something like Kotlin or maybe Python. Well, it's not bad, it's not a bad thing to use, it's not a bad language to use, but in my opinion, it's kind of hard for people to understand what are you coding, what are you using. So there's not many people that use Kotlin for making websites, and there's no many people that uses Python to make websites. So I think the more typical it is, the better it is. And then I use some other frameworks, and mainly I use GSAP for animation because of how smooth it is and how cheap it is, because it's almost free, and you can actually buy a premium one for only about, I kind of forgot the price, but it's pretty a budget for maybe some people who were just starting their startup and don't have that much budget. So yeah, that's all.
Okay, well, it's great. So, Dzikra, how do you prioritize tasks and manage your time in a fast-paced startup?
Okay, the first thing that I'll think of is that I will always try to not do multitasking, because that is indeed very dangerous. Multitasking can make your projects, can make your things that you're doing not consistent, and then maybe there will be some errors that you might not even know. So multitasking, I will always try to avoid that unless it's very, very, very like desperate or something. So I'll always like open up my phone, and then I will open OneNote or something, and then I will add my first task, my prioritized task, and then the other one, and then the other one, and then the other one, less and less prioritized. So of course it will depend. It depends on how desperate the task is. Maybe something like, oh, you need to fix this error, or people might see our password for this account, for our main account of this company. So of course that is very desperate. We gotta fix that as soon as possible. So that task will be in the top priority of my priority thing, So yeah, that's all.
For sure. All right, so now I want you to describe a situation where you had to work with a cross-functional team. How did you ensure successful collaboration?
Okay, for example, let's do a marketing company with a designing company, and then with a marketing
Division.
Yeah, marketing division with a designing division and me, a web developer. So of course, sometimes there will be some problems, but we can actually resolve that by communication, because communication, you really need that if you're doing something like what was it again?
A cross-functional team.
Yes, if you have a team, communication is always the main thing. If you're bad at doing communication, well, you're done. You're not gonna do anything. Someone is going to do this, and then someone's going to do that, and that is not going to work properly. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, mashallah. Well, so how do you stay motivated and up to date with industry trends?
Let me think of that for a second. How do I get motivated?
Yeah.
Okay.
How do you stay motivated and up to date with industry trends?
Up to date. Well, I do have a Discord server or a Discord group, which actually gives me information of new things, just like I said from before, about new things, new updates of a software, or maybe some new companies that are maybe growing or something like that. And maybe if there are some other companies that are growing, I usually just take advantage of that, So I learn from their mistakes, So of course, if a company is growing, of course they must have made a mistake first. So of course I would look at their mistakes, and then I will try to analyze them as good as possible, and then I would use their mistakes to make my mistakes minimalized. So I usually just go to social media or maybe talk with my friends, and maybe I'll get some more information. And thank you.
Keep staying up it. Well, okay. So could you please give me an example of a challenging situation at work and how you handle it?
Okay, so startup company. What is the number one thing in startup company? Of course, it's budget. Not all startup companies have so many budgets, unless you're Elon Musk or something. But the thing is, with tight budget means that you don't have everything that you want, So, for example, you're gonna make a website, but you have a really tight budget. It actually happened about a couple of years ago. I have my clients who doesn't have that much money, so he was on a tight budget. He only have about probably $1,000 for making a website, and he needs a really good website. So we gotta do I gotta minimalize as good as possible. So I don't need to use so much animation. I just need to prioritize the main thing of the website, the main thing that the client wants to deliver in the website. So of course we gotta minimalize some animation. We gotta minimalize maybe some other components. So the budget will still be enough for the website. Thank you.
Also, that makes sense. Well, it would be our last questions, Dzikra. What are your long-term career goals, and how do you see them aligning with our company?
Life these days are kind of getting harder. So my main goal for the future is, of course, to make the future better, to make people's lives better with technology. And just like your company, it's actually trying to make people's lives easier. Maybe not all people in the world, but some people's lives easier. So of course, just like my goal in my life is to make people's lives better with technology. And of course, with technology, we can actually make people's life better. Maybe we can make people get some work better. Maybe we can make some people get a better life, just like I said. So, yeah, that's all.
Yeah, that's very noble.
Well, of course, I didn't have so much preparation for this.
That's very good. Mr. Dzikra, I think that's enough for today's interview. Thank you very much for coming.
Okay.
We're going to look forward for the next step later on.
All right.
Have a great day. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Bye.